Potter universe. Number 10. Serpent Sorcia. This snaky spell shoots out a serpent from the tip of the caster's wand, making it a poisonous little number and Indiana Jones's worst nightmare. Draco Malfoy, aka the Milky Bar Bitch, once fired off this spell in a room of inexperienced children in the Chamber of Secrets. And who does that? Luckily for the vast amount of students present, this snake was quickly dispatched by Severus Snape and no harm befell anyone. But on another day, the outcome could have been much worse. Serpent Sorcia, after all, is meant to be an offensive spell, and that means that the animals it conjures are primed and ready to strike. Naughty racist little lad, you. Number 9. Diffindo. Diffindo is mostly used to rip and tear objects like paper, but it could also be used on humans, resulting in something similar to a hamster meeting your parents' office shredder. Poor little Humphrey. Though defending the ice to reach the Sword of Gryffindor in the Deathly Hallows Part 1, or in the books where Ron uses it to trim the sleeves of his dress robes before the Yule Ball, the deadly possibilities it possesses cannot be undersold. It can cut and shred your opponent like a cheese grater on fleshy flesh cheese. Diffindo is just one of many spells like this in the wizarding world, ones that seem harmless if used safely, but could prove fatal if abused or misused. Number 8. Confringo. We all know that one person we just love to explode, and Confringo provides a sufficient means to that end. But what makes this particular spell especially deadly is the fact it can be easily used to take out a whole group of people in one fell swoop. Confringo has been used many times with devastating effects, both on page and on screen. Most notably in Deathly Hallows Part 1, wherein Hermione casts a spell and destroys Harry's wand in the process. Number 7. Imperio. Imperio is an unforgivable curse on another person's actions, rendering them completely helpless. We see Imperio being used by Barty Crouch Jr. during Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Barty cast the spell on a spider to demonstrate its effects to his class of 4th year students, mentioning that he can make the spider do anything, even drown itself. We see later Victor Crumb under the influence of the spell, as he attacks Cedric Diggory in the maze with no control over his actions or state of mind. Imperio certainly isn't outright deadly, but it's a scary proposition, and once you manage to get somebody under its effects, it can be as potent as you want it to be. Number 6. Fiendfire. Fire in general is rather dangerous, but it's even more dangerous when said fire becomes almost sentient and can hunt you down like one of the raptors from Jurassic Park. And unfortunately for Harry, Ron and Hermione towards the end of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part, though Inamicum can be, it's a wonder we don't see it being cast in more places across the wizarding world. It could be used to stop intruders gaining access to Hogwarts or stop prisoners escaping Azkaban so damn easily. But in the Harry Potter films, we see the charm being used only once, at the start of Deathly Hallows Part 2. With Voldemort and his troops looming in, the Hogwarts professors gather in the courtyard and shoot the spell high up in the sky, creating a protective barrier around the entirety of the school and its grounds. Though the barrier can be broken down with enough force, it takes a lot of time, power, and effort to do so. Number 4. Engorgio Scullus. Engorgio Scullus is a variation of the Engorgement Charm, a spell that, you guessed it, causes the target to increase in size. But where the Engorgement Charm will enlarge the target as a whole, Engorgio Scullus will specifically target the skull and any surrounding tissue, giving the victim a head that looks like Adam Blompier. The head would likely collapse, its weight unable to be supported by a normal-sized neck, causing blood to stop flowing to the brain, depriving it of oxygen, and ultimately leading to a rather unpleasant death. Engorgio Scullus may not be as common as some of the other spells in the Potterverse, but it's as effective as any. Number 3. Sectum Sempra. Invented by none other than Severus Snape as a way to defend himself against the excessive amount of bullying he received in his school days, Sectum Sempra is arguably the single most brutal spell in the wizarding world. Because, unfortunately for the victim, it won't kill you straight away. It'll make you bleed and suffer, dying slowly and incredibly painfully as you spill more of the red stuff than my drunk aunt playing charades. George Weasley lost an ear to Sectum Sempra during Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and because of the dark, advanced nature of the spell, the ear was not able to be reattached via any known magical means. It's violent, difficult to reverse, and tears its victims up at the flick of a wrist. If there's only one thing we can take away from this, it's not to bully people until they snap. Harsh, okay? Number 2. Entrail Expelling Curse. The Entrail Expelling Curse is one that we'll never get to see being used on screen, and that's not really a surprise given that Harry Potter is a family-friendly series and this particular spell would make a mess akin to those found in the Saw films. That being said, it wouldn't be a surprise if we learnt that it had been used by Voldemort and his army of sadistic Death Eaters. Expelling a person's entrails would assert a high chance, almost 100%, that it would be incredibly painful, bloody, and just very unpleasant to witness. And number 1, Avada Kedavra. It's no surprise to see Avada Kedavra on top of this list, really. I mean, by sheer definition, it's literally the deadliest spell in the Harry Potter universe, and its potency has been displayed many times across the series of wizarding books and movies. It's one of the 3 unforgivable curses, spells that if used will instantly land the perpetrator